sun go down, burn the tar up on the roof. Your shoe gets so hot, wish your feet was fireproof. Under the boardwalk, down by the sea. Breakfast with Bob is where I'll be.
Macho Man, everybody! Yeah! Welcome back to day 2, Breakfast with Bob from Kona and Huggles on the Rocks. My name is Bob Babbitt, brought to you by my Master Spas. As fuels go longer, Hoka Let's Fly DeBoer wetsuits, Form Smart Swim goggles, Zoot Sports, the original triathlon brand, Quintana Roo Premium Plus Sports, and of course, our Challenged Athletes Foundation. Athlete, coach, the woman who knows how to wear pink like no one else, Haley Chura joins us. How you doing, Haley?
I'm doing really well, Bob. I'm excited to be here. I'm in Hawaii. I get to chat with you. It's a good day.
And I think you've got a few Haleyettes who are racing.
I know this is a new term you just came up with, but I actually have 6 athletes that I coach who will be racing with me on Saturday, and that's pretty special. I think that's the most I've ever had at any race in my professional career since I've been coaching. And so to have that happen here in Hawaii at the World Championship is pretty cool.
Now, how are you liking the fact that it's all women? There's
I love
2,000 women racing here. You guys like that? Of course you do. Yes.
Honestly, Bob, I had a really good race here last year in 2022.
Yes.
And we had a mostly women's day, and I didn't really feel like I had a lot of unfinished business. I was 13th here last year.
Yes.
I had a great race. And then when they announced that 2023 would be all women, I knew I had to be here. And so my entire race schedule this year has been geared up toward being here and being a part of this event, because it's something that throughout my decade-long pro career has been something I care about a lot, is the women's field, the pro women's field, the age group women's field. And to see it showcased like this, I think it's gonna be unlike any other race we've ever had.
Well, over 2,000 women.
I know, it's
racing
amazing.
Here,
I
right?
think it's like, yeah, last year there was like 700. So to go from 700 to 2,000 is just incredible. And you think about every single one of those women have a story, and they come from somewhere, and they get to go back and talk to their communities and tell them about what it was like, and hopefully on Saturday everyone from their pool that they ride with or do a spin class with is going to be tuning in and watching, and I think that's going to be really good for the sport.
Well, you know what's cool is actually I was writing the script for a piece that'll run at the Carbo Party about the history of women in this sport and how Ironman is so different than other sports. When you look at other sports, like in women's basketball, they use a smaller ball. In tennis, they play 3 sets rather than 5. And in volleyball, you use a lower net. Well, there's never been a difference here. Prize money has always been equal. The challenge of the swim cutoff, the bike cutoff, run cutoff, always the same. It's an equal opportunity abuser. Ironman doesn't care, male, female, if you're missing a body part, whatever you want to do, this is the place to come and do it. So I think it's so cool to have 2,000 women out here showing that what started in '79 with 1 woman out here, now we got 2,000? There could be nothing cooler than that.
And I think it's also, by giving us our own day, we get a fair race, a really fair race, which is especially important to the pro field because it is our livelihood. And we also just get that media attention, which thank you, you're part of that, and making sure that we are representing our sponsors and that the companies that invest in us are getting their fair share and encouraged to continue to invest in us. And so I think that that's especially important this year, and I'm really thankful for the brands that have gotten behind me and the other women in the pro field, because I think with that additional investment, we're just seeing the times get faster and better athletes, and just we're getting to see the what is possible, and that's so fun to be a part of.
When you look at what's happening this year with how deep the pro field is, right, and then you have 70.3 world champion, 2-time 70.3 world champion Taylor Knibb coming over, right, with her raw speed, never running a marathon, never doing Ironman before, but she adds a little spice to the women's race, right?
Oh, I was at the Collins Cup in 2021 when she raced, and everyone was like, I don't think she can do it on a road bike, and then she crushed it.
Had the fastest time of everybody, yes.
I know, and that actually in that moment, I was spectating, and I was like, I cannot wait to see Taylor race an Ironman. I did not think we would see that within 2 years.
Well, she just made an Olympic team for the 2nd time, right?
So, but I think it's so exciting. I mean, I think she is someone that eventually will win this race, if not this year, but eventually. And I think it's kind of fun to say, I was in the race too when she started. So I'm just enjoying the opportunity and the attention that she her presence brings to the sport, and I think that's pretty cool.
Well, we're also seeing that sort of next generation, because her mom was an Ironman person who sort of got her into the sport. We're seeing that next generation of athletes, because it used to be you sort of got in the triathlon when you were done with your swimming or your running career.
Yeah.
You moved on as a pro, moved into it. Well, Taylor grew up with it.
Right.
And so many of our athletes now are growing up with the sport, and Sam Laidlaw winning the Ironman World Championship with 24 years old, seeing younger people coming to longer distance earlier.
I think that's just going to keep happening too, because like Taylor competed collegiately, but in swimming and running.
Yep.
And now we're seeing NCAA swimming or NCAA triathlon become a fully fledged sport. And I mean, I can't imagine the possibilities that are going to come because of that, because kids are going to be actually racing triathlon before college and in college. I mean, things are going to get very exciting.
It's funny because for a lot of years in the U.S., we were really behind the eight ball when it came to, you had Alistair Brownlee and Javier Gomez. Those guys all started when they were 7, 8, 9 years old, and our guys were starting out of college, and there's no way they compete. Well, now our women are starting when they're 7, 8, 9. They go into the NCAA program. They're training as triathletes. They're not training as individual sports people, which I think is a huge difference. So speaking of your season this year, when you jump into the PTO US Open and get 9th in a field like that, people don't understand when you go to, that's right. The US Open and those PTO races are really set up for our ITU athletes, for the Olympic athletes, and a lot of times it's a mixture of the Ironman people stepping down in distance and the Olympic people stepping up in distance, but there's a lot of raw speed there.
Yeah.
And when you get 9th in a race like that, that's like being on the podium in your typical race, right?
It was so exciting. I will admit I was intimidated by that start list and that field, and I never raced ITU or draft legal racing. I did get into Ironman when I was in my early 20s and as an age grouper, and so I didn't know if I had the raw speed, but collegiately, I swam the 200 backstroke, which is a pretty tough event and pretty short event. And so I just try to remind myself, I'm like, you've been fast before. So, I mean, I'm 38 years old now, and I've been, racing pro for a decade, and mostly Ironman and some 70.3s. And so it is exciting to know that I can race an Ironman and then also still mix it up at some of the shorter stuff. I think it keeps it exciting, and someone like me is a little bit unusual in the sport, but it's also kind of fun, and it's fun for me to think that like some of my best running times are right now at age 38. It's crazy.
Well, it's interesting that you mention that, because you think about it, Chelsea Sodero came over from running, right? And she came over after 6 stress fractures, and while she was recovering from those, she's swimming and cycling. Mm-hmm. And her husband's like, you should try this triathlon thing, and then a few years later, she's Ironman World Champion. As someone who's coaching, if you're coaching straight runners, would you have them do swimming and cycling so that they're not doing all that pounding just running?
I do coach some run-only athletes.
Oh, you
and
do?
If they do have access, to a spin bike or a bike or a pool, we do use that. Yes, absolutely. I'm such a big advocate. I do think there is a way where you can gain run fitness from cycling.
No question.
I mean, even me, a few years ago, I kind of took a step away from triathlon for a little bit, and I trained for a marathon, and I learned so much while doing that. I tried to qualify for the US Olympic trials in 2020, which I did, and I got to run in that.
There we go.
It was one of the coolest experiences. It was so cool, but I learned a lot as a coach and an athlete from that about the demands that running places on your body. And because I didn't necessarily have a running background, I came from a swimming background. So it's taken me, 14 years to get to where I am now running wise. But I, throughout all of that, did keep some swimming and some cycling into the mix, just because I think it's great for
keeps you healthy,
some aerobic fitness and some active recovery, which is my favorite thing ever.
Well, I've always felt that high school and college coaches should have bike trainers on the track, and they should get people, even if it's an endless pool, just get them in there, because anytime you can avoid a running workout, or you can use the high intensity cycling to replace a running workout, it's going to keep their athletes healthy.
Yes, the problem is swim access is always hard. It's harder than we think, and so we are thankful for the public pools out there that give us some access.
So, second Ironman Coeur d'Alene this year. That's pretty huge on the podium there.
Yeah, it was a good, solid race for me. Coeur d'Alene I've won the half there twice, and I live in Bozeman, Montana, which is about 6 hours away from Coeur d'Alene, but very similar terrain, similar climate, similar, I felt a lot of hometown vibe when I was there, and that I really, really targeted that race, and I went for the win. I wanted to win. I led for about, I think, 7 hours of the race, and Jody Robertson was just better on the day, and came away with I got second. I held on for a second. Mel McQuaid was coming up quick, and it was a great experience for me. I think I learned a lot from that. I came back around, went through a bad patch and came back around and kind of learned that I can do that. And that's a nice thing about a race this long, is that you can have a down moment or down 10 miles of moments and then come back around.
down 10 miles.
It can happen. And so it's a good reminder that you can, just keep going, try to keep yourself going. And I was lucky. I actually had, some friends on the course, which I think I'll have out here. And sometimes those cheers, they
make a difference.
Yeah, they make a
big
huge
difference.
Yeah. And there was even a moment in that race where one of the volunteers, actually, I ran through and I was like, Coke, and they didn't have any Coke. And then one of the volunteers found some and ran after me with it. And it was just one of those moments where it wasn't even necessarily the Coke. It was just like, wow, this woman is out here volunteering on, her day off work and cared so much about my race that she found this and ran up at me and gave this to me. And I think that helped change things for me, just being like, okay, I'm not alone out here. I've got to keep pushing. If she's going to invest in me, I have to invest in myself and get myself across the finish line. So I try to remember those kind of moments too when I'm in the race, because it can start to feel alone out there, but you really aren't.
You are alone out there. There's not a lot of people. When you're out in the lava fields, it's you and you.
Yeah, which, I mean, my own head is a interesting place sometimes, but we're working on it. We're working on getting the good thoughts and keeping everything positive and reminding myself that it's really, really cool opportunity. And then thank you to the volunteers and everyone who helps make this possible, because it's incredible that we get to challenge ourselves in this way.
You mentioned Melanie McQuaid, who is a 50-year-old pro, a multi-time Xterra world champion. 50-year-old, this is her first time in Kona, right?
It's pretty
50
cool.
years old.
Oh yeah, I also co-host the Iron Women podcast, and we had Mel on, and she was like very, very inspiring to me. And I am really inspired by a lot of my competitors, but she talked about when she was in her late 30s and how she thought, oh, she should probably be done. And these are thoughts that I have, of course, and then now she's doing better than ever at the World Championship at age 50. And I mean, again, she was running me down in Coeur d'Alene. She's fast. So
she is fast.
It's be exciting to see, her perspective on a first rookie, Kona at age 50. I think it's pretty cool. And I think she is also very representative of the sport, because the 50-year-old age group is huge.
Gigantic.
It's huge.
I know. And is this your 14th Kona? 13th?
It's my 9th. Yeah. So I've done 14 years in triathlon.
But 9th here in Kona.
Yeah, so I did 4 times as an age grouper, and this is my 5th time as a pro. So
9.
I know. How did that happen?
Does it get old? I know. Does it get old, or is it still something you love being here?
I get off that airplane every single time, and I'm like, wow.
Even from the first time.
So cool.
First time you got off the plane,
the
we were
first
like,
time
oh my gosh,
really,
ridiculously
really
hot.
I was 24 years old. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. It was my first Ironman. I was like a very slow version of Taylor Knibb.
Your first time here or first Ironman?
First time here, first Ironman, because back then you could qualify in a half.
Yes, you could.
Yeah, this was 2009, different world.
Oh, yes.
And so I remember getting off the plane, and I was like, whoa. I mean, it was like the smells, the sounds, the heat, it all hits you. And it was a really, really cool experience. I was, again, not the fastest. I had a really good swim, but then I think 1,300 people passed me. So I was like, and I think the race wasn't many more than 1,300 people.
Were you first out of the water?
I was first out of the water, but that's one of the great things about being first out of the water. You get to see every single person go by you.
And sort of check out their outfit and go, I don't know about that, Matt. Doesn't match very well. Yeah.
I was like checking out every single bike, making my plans for the future. But yeah, so, and I knew in that time, I was like, okay, this is my experience on this day. I'm going to come back and I'm going to be faster. And I have, 7 times so far. And hopefully, this time will be even my best. I mean, it is wild that 2009 was my first time, and then 2022 was my fastest. So I think this is a course where experience helps.
Yes.
And it's a sport where experience helps. So hopefully, you know, that all comes to, you know, a really, really nice conclusion on Saturday.
So, and then last year, just one other, you won Ironman Mount Trabant.
Yes.
And wins are always good, especially the longer your career goes. You savor those.
I know. I had my first Ironman win in 2014 at Ironman Fortaleza, and there was a lot of life in between 2014 and 2022 for everyone. I mean, the world changed, and I can't believe that in 2022 I got another Ironman win in Tremblant, and that was a really, really special race. I mean, I think I didn't know what to expect going into the day. I knew I loved that course, and just the support was unparalleled, and I just had one of those days where I raced to my training and things just clicked. And I savored that finish line like I have never savored anything. I mean, you just don't know. You never know.
You never know.
And it's just like, if you're ever going to get this experience again, and it had been so long and so much had happened, and that was a good reminder that, again, I've kind of had a lot of ups and downs throughout my career, and that I am on and up right now, and I just got to really enjoy it.
This sport can be fairly selfish, going out, swim, bike, run, being away from people, but when you're coaching, and you've got people who you care about and they care about you, that sort of makes it all worthwhile.
Yes, I mean, I'm not gonna like lie and say I'm not a selfish, completely altruistic person, but sometimes it happens. But I think coaching has been really good for me from a perspective of sharing information I have, but also from almost like having coworkers and having kind of that social life that I've missed after I left my public accounting career. And then it's also fun to watch like people's progression and people's growth. And I think that this year, the 35, 39 women, I have a few in that age group, and they only start 13 minutes behind me. And I think that that's pretty cool. I'm like, I mean, it's like, I think
do
that's
not
one
catch
of the coolest.
coach.
No,
do
please
not
do.
catch coach.
I think
Remember
that would be the coolest thing ever. I would love it. I would love it. I mean, as long as I'm having a good day, and that's the reason, like they're having a great day, I think that would be the coolest thing ever as a coach. But I mean, it's just with the out and back nature of this course.
You can see them all day.
I get to see people, and that's pretty cool. And you know, it's one of those things during Ironman, your brain isn't always working that well, so it's like I'm not necessarily in like prime coach mode. And I think throughout, through my rest of my career in the sport, that maybe I will transition more into a little bit more coaching where I can actually give advice rather than just like, in my brain I'm giving advice. But I think that it is really, really special to have 6 athletes, all different age groups, all different stories, backgrounds, everything here in Hawaii is going to make this like an incredible experience for me, and hopefully for them as well. I
love it. Haley, as always, thank you for taking so much time. Always such a pleasure to see you. It's too bad you're so subdued and don't really have anything to say.
I know. I enjoy it.
You need to come out of your shell. I need to help you with that.
Yeah.
How about a round of applause for the great Haley Chura? Poncho Man.
Almost taste hot dog and French fries they sell under the boardwalk down by the sea. Like with breakfast with Bob is where I'll be.
Poncho Man, everybody.